More than 200 personnel of the Gambian forces are set to begin a 3-month training to learn Turkish language. The EU leaders meet the Turkish president to discuss on bilateral relations. And the Eritrean troops have started withdrawing from the Ethiopia's Tigrayan region, authorities say. Well, these and more coming your way on The World Today. Hello, this is Africa TV and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin. I am Amadou Kante. Many thanks for joining us, and now the news in detail. Now, 250 personnel from the Gambian forces will embark on a 3-month Turkish language course training by personnel from the Turkish Armed Forces. This Turkish language course, which will be run in collaboration with the Marif International School, serves as a prelude to a training in Turkey. The 3-month course is aimed at adequately preparing the troops to understand the Turkish language prior to their airlifting to the Republic of Turkey, as it would be the language of instruction during the training. Maria Macham has more details of that in this report.
50 personnel, which include 15 officers and 40 female soldiers, are the first batch of the proposed 500 soldiers to undergo training in Turkey. The Gambia Armed Forces made a pledge to the United Nations in April 2019 to deploy a quick reaction force into one of the peace support operations missions, precisely in Mali, DR Congo, and the Central African Republic. Officials says the training is part of a series of activities undertaken by the Gambia Armed Forces towards the realization of the pledge following the closure of the United Nations mission in Darfur, which was the flagship of the Gambia Armed Forces in terms of peacekeeping operations. Major Abdoulaye Diop, commander of the Gambia Armed Forces Training School, urges the trainees to give their best during the course. Commander Diop adds that they will do their best to take care of these personnel during the training.
We expect nothing but for you to carry yourself in conformity with our standing operating procedures as an institution, or as the only institution tasked with the responsibility of carrying out training for members of the armed forces. We are just playing host to this course potentially, and we will do our best to look after you during the period of your stay in the school. We have the Guards Battalion Clinic, which will serve as your primary port of call in case you fall sick or something happens to you. And the Serekunda General Hospital, and also the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital in Banjul, which will serve as primary and secondary referral hospitals in case any of you fall sick.
His meeting EU Poglu, the Turkish team leader, explains more on the conduct of the training and the subject areas the personnel will be exposed to.
In this training, most of you will go to Turkey to continue your military training. We aim to teach you Turkish and introduce you Turkish culture before you get there. You are going to have 12 hours of lessons per week for 12 weeks. In addition to that, every week we are going to conduct seminars for 2 hours. We will try to represent our country, its history, its geography, its culture, its economy, its social and everyday life, its art and literature, and its goals and missions.
Meanwhile, the contingent 1 of the QRF is already at the final stages of their training. Yakuba A. Drame, Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces, applauds the first contingent for giving their all in the training. He also encouraged these personnel to take the training seriously.
Remember, training is the mainstay of any organization. In the military, training is most essential to the unit in the performance of their traditional functions and constitutional mandate. You can perform effectively and efficiently if and when you give utmost consideration to training. This, like many other trainings, is very key. That is to say, first try to assimilate, trying to get yourself consumed within what it takes to be able to effectively and efficiently speak the language. This prepares you, because if you cannot meet this requirement, you would find it difficult to meet the requirement once you leave the shores of this country.
In November 2020, the Gambia Armed Forces conducted a Zoom advanced advisory visit with the United Nations Department of Peacekeeping, which was a resounding success and paved the way for the preparation of the contingents. These personnel will not only be trained on the Turkish language, but also their way of life, their culture, among other things. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Mariama Cham.
250 personnel of the Gambian forces to learn the Turkish language and their culture before they travel to Turkey to further their training. Now, top EU officials have on Tuesday held talks with the Turkish president on the future of EU and Turkey relations. The meeting is expected to ease years of tension over a growing list of issues threatening to boil over last summer when Turkey sent Navy ship to support an energy exploration mission in waters claimed by EU member states of Cyprus and Greece. Here's more details of that in this report.
The EU delegation to was headed by the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and Michel Charles, the head of the European Council, to discuss on several issues of relations between the European Union and Turkey. The European Union is by far the largest trade partner with Turkey, but relations between the two long-standing partners have deteriorated over the years. Speaking shortly after the Ankara meeting, President of the European Council, Michel Charles, said the EU welcomes the continuation of bilateral talks between Greece and Turkey. According to him, the EU is ready to put a concrete and positive agenda on the table to boost their economic cooperation.
The EU is by far the largest trading partner of Turkey. Economic cooperation will be envisaged in a number of areas. The European Council has invited the Commission to start preparatory work. We will also consider high-level dialogues on issues of mutual concern, such as regional issues, public health, climate, or counter-terrorism. And we will explore ways to strengthen cooperation on people-to-people contacts and mobility.
The head of the European Council also lauded Turkey's hosting of 4 million Syrian refugees, saying the EU is committed to continue its financial assistance.
On migration, we appreciate Turkey's hosting of 4 million Syrian refugees and agree that EU assistance be continued. The Commission will soon present a proposal for the financing for Syrian refugees in Turkey, Jordan, and Lebanon.
The EU delegation said the issue of freedom of speech, promotion of women's and girls' rights, and Turkey's withdrawal from the Istanbul Convention remains as a significant part of EU-Turkey relationship. The European Union leaders will meet next week in Brussels to discuss the state of issues between the two partners. Joseph Borrell, the EU's chief diplomat, will submit a report ahead of the encounter, tackling a wide host of issues that have exacerbated tensions between the two neighbors.
Top EU officials meet with Turkish president to discuss issues of relations between the two parties. Now to matters of the TRC, where Salih Tal, a seasoned legal practitioner and president of the Gambia Bar Association, said the legal profession under former President Yahya Jammeh was occupational hazard. Lawyer Tal made the remarks while appearing before the Truth Commission on Tuesday to explain how the legal system was used by Jammeh regime to instill fear and violate the rights of citizens. Binta Fati reports.
Delivering before the Commission, Salih Tal described the legal atmosphere in the Gambia under Jammeh as hazardous.
That the practice of law in the Gambia is an occupational hazard. Was very challenging. And then I felt that it was very hard for a lawyer to really practice their trade freely and independently.
According to Tal, his first encounter with Jammeh regime was when he served as the head of legal matters for the Guaranty Trust Bank Gambia in 2002. In the case of Baba Jobe and GTA Bank, the witness explained that Baba Jobe took a loan from the bank for his company, Youth Development Enterprise YDE, involved in rice import to the Gambia, giving 2 of his compounds as a collateral for the loan.
So the bank gives Baba Jobe the money, or YDE the money.
Bank bina jox Baba Jobe wala YDE xaalis bi.
And then he defaults in his payments.
Ca pay ga nak mu am ci rëq-rëq.
At the time that Jammeh came on TV,
jamono boobu nga xam ne Jammeh na génn na ci télé bi,
and said that everything that belongs to Baba Jobe belongs to him.
Asked what Baba Jobe had with former President Jammeh, the witness said Baba was believed to be the president's right-hand man, handling his financial dealings.
Well, it was reported that he was really the president's right-hand man.
Moom nag nekkoon na koo xam ne daa wóolëree président bi la woon.
And he exercised a great deal of power.
Dan doon jëflante lu aju ci doole bu am dayo.
And was reported to be fronting for the financial dealings of the president.
Salou Tal further revealed that the issue was taken to court, and it was decided by the court that the 2 properties that were given as a collateral are to be forfeited to the bank. He continued that some rents were collected by the bank at the time. However, they were later directed to return the Cape Point property.
Afternoon, I think it was Friday.
Ben bëccëg yaakaar naa aljuma la woon.
We received a letter.
Ñu jot benn letter.
From the office of the president.
Jóge ko ci office président bi.
Signed by a permanent secretary at the time.
Signé ko nag di permanent secretary jamono boobu.
Whose name I can write down if you wish.
Koo xam ne nag turam mun naa ko bind ci kayit jox la ko.
Directing the bank.
Di jox nag ndigal banque bi.
To return one of the properties.
Mu delloo nag benn ci kër yooyu.
That is the one in Cape Point.
Mooy benn bi nekk Cape Point.
Stating in the letter.
Di wéral nag ci lettre boobu ne.
That property belongs to the president.
Ne kër googu na président bi moo ko moom.
And that we should desist.
Ne tamit dañ war a bàyyi.
In any way or form.
Lépp loo xam ne mu ngi jëm ci mbir moomu.
Interfering with the property.
The head of Gambia Bar Association said the bank acted on the judgment given by the High Court and took possession of the properties. Asked the name on the properties, the witness said he could not recall the name of the individual, but it wasn't Baba Jobe. He, however, confirmed that the said person whose name was on the document also signed the mortgage. Tal added that at the time, the bank was receiving rents from some tenants but were ordered to return the money collected in cash by the NIA. The witness also explained that some senior administrative officers were arrested with regards to the issue. Binta Fati reporting for Africa TV News.
We will bring you more details of Salou Tal's testimony in our subsequent news edition as more witnesses continue to appear before the TRRC. And there's more news coming ahead, but for now we'll take a break and come back shortly with the remainder of the story. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
The pride we take in our brand, the work we put into constantly change the landscape and elevate real estate in the Gambia, it's compared to none. From inception, our goal was to add value to the beautiful Gambian landscape. That's why we are proud innovators of community estates. Kololi Sands is an exceptional piece of work, tailored for ultimate convenience and luxury, to bring you an element of finesse that is rare but unique in its own. This is also our pride and joy, and we welcome you to the exquisite beauty right here in Kololi and right here on the waterfront. Kololi Sands, feel the ocean breeze at your doorstep.
Welcome back, and you're watching the World Today News Bulletin on Africa TV, and now to the rest of the stories. Now, the women of Banjulunden Horticultural Garden have expressed challenges they faced in their work. According to the women gardeners, The main challenge they are confronted with is water shortages. iAfrica TV visited the Guardian on Monday to know their problems. Khadija Seka tells us more of that in this report.
A considerable chunk of the population relies on agriculture as source of income and feeding. This, however, is sometimes limited by the lack of technical know-how and the scarcity of resources needed to carry out farming. The Banjulinding Horticultural Garden is 23 hectares of land, but according to the woman, only 8 hectares is being used and the remaining was abandoned because of water shortages. Mariama Kamara underlined lack of enough water, fencing for the garden, and not having access to quality insecticides as the main problems confronting them.
Nimpareta nga niyo sotota nga potota nga bulabenyo kono.
Our problem is water shortage and fencing. Our second problem is the insects affecting our crops. We use different insecticides to help us, but our efforts went in vain. I don't know what is the problem.
Mariama Kamara further added that marketing of their harvested crops has always been an issue. She said access to cold store to preserve their crops and means of transport to sell their crops directly to the consumers without selling it to the middlemen would help to mitigate their losses.
Marketing our crops is very difficult on our side. If we have cold store to keep our crops, it will be helpful. However, if we cannot have access to a cold store, then they should assist us to reach the market ourselves so that the customers will reach us, and with that, we will be able to get the profit we deserve.
The Banjulinding Women Horticultural Garden was founded in 1996 with initial support from the World Bank project. After the phasing out of the World Bank support to the project, the then government of the Gambia, in collaboration with the Taiwanese, continued to support the project until late 2013. The women gardeners called on the government and relevant NGOs to come to their aid in tackling the challenges they face daily. Khadija Seka, iAfrica News.
The women gardeners in Banjulinding continues to call for more support as they also continue to face more constraints in their works. Now to Ethiopia next, where because the Ethiopian government says Eritrean troops have started leaving the Tigrayan region after crossing the borders to face the Tigray People's Liberation Front (TPLF). Senior government officials confirm the withdrawal will be completed soon, while the Ethiopian National Army takes charge of the national border. International humanitarian agencies, including the media, are now allowed to access the area, authorities have confirmed. Here's more details of that in this report.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs said Eritrean troops who have crossed the border when provoked by the TPLF have now started to evacuate, and the Ethiopian National Defense Force has taken over, guarding the national border. Top government officials have confirmed to us that withdrawal is now being expedited and will be completed soon. And where Eritrean troops have left, Ethiopian troops are already taking over, securing the border areas between the two states. Ethiopia says unfettered access to humanitarian aid, including international media, has now been fully granted in a joint investigation on human rights violation by international human rights experts has also been approved and will commence soon.
From the report in Ethiopia, finally to Turkey next, due to school closing in Iraq, Ibrahim, a chemistry teacher, established groups on WhatsApp and Viber for students to be able to attend lectures and ask him questions for answers. The COVID-19 pandemic led to the closure of all schools in Iraq due to during the month of February 2020. As a result, over 10 million children were affected throughout the country. Here's more details of that in this report by Ndesise.
Iraq's education sector faced decades of obstacles, mainly due to war followed by economic crisis, social and political tensions. The impact of COVID-19 added more pressure on the already fragile education system, making access even harder for children. In order to help high school students pass their exams in this trying time, Mr. Ibrahim took up the challenge. The chemistry teacher, with few online resources, established his own YouTube channel to dispense regular lessons and interact with students in different parts of the country.
I was able to finish the whole curriculum in less than 2 months. I keep in touch with my students. I have groups on WhatsApp and Viber. Sometimes after midnight, they send me questions and I answer them.
Reports showed that public schools in Iraq operate 6 days a week instead of 5 amid COVID-19. The observance of social distancing within classroom is one of the factors taking up space in schools. Yafa, a secondary school student, explained how hard it is for people like him to study without a teacher.
It's hard to understand everything when you have to study on your own. A teacher needs to explain the material. I studied well and got 86% in chemistry.
The COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted formal education structures globally. With Iraq among those systems, it heavily weighs down. Many children and their families might find it difficult to get access to online platforms, having to cope with several distractions at home. Iraq has confirmed more than 600,000 cases since the outbreak of the coronavirus global pandemic. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
Inspiring. An Iraqi chemistry teacher there, of course, initiated new measures to help his students due to the lockdown, of course, amidst the coronavirus pandemic in the country. And with that, we finally bring this news edition to an end. But for more details on this and other stories, as always, you can log on our website on iAfrica.tv. But for now, though, many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and bye for now.
They say we slept in one world and woke up in another. This global tragedy